Hi guys, my name is John and welcome to Perfect Progress. So first of all, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for purchasing the 5 Perfect Progress Skills course. Thank you so much. Your time is valuable and I really do appreciate it. Now this may sound cliche, but I definitely know this will change your life. So again, thank you. Next, let me give you a little background. The 5 Perfect Progress Skills is something I have worked for almost 20 years now. I have put thousands and thousands of hours into this. I really have, just ask my wife. It's been a real journey and a real passion of mine. So what is Perfect Progress? Well, Perfect Progress is about personal productivity. But even more so, Perfect Progress is a story. It's a story of how to get things done. It's not a method, formula, or procedure you memorize. Perfect Progress is an easy to remember story of how to get things done. You see, people usually don't go through life remembering lists, pointers, keys, outlines, or acronyms. Every time you learn something new, it's not like you add it to a long list of things to remember. Life is not a set of bullet points. Life is a story, and Perfect Progress is a story that will resonate with anyone's story. It was Mahatma Gandhi who said, "First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win." Again, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. The main point here is there is an adversary. Again, there's an adversary. And it's precisely this point that explains why many, if not most, productivity teachings fail. If you're thinking that productivity only has to do with the management of resources, improving communication, or finding motivation, Gandhi certainly did not think so. Wait until you discover it is much more. If you struggle with busyness or slowness in any area of your life, and you're someone who is interested in changing that once and for all, I think you will want to hear what I have to say. Almost 20 years of productivity research, thousands and thousands of hours, summed up into just one simple story. I can tell you that there is nothing else out there like this, yet it's the foundation for everything else. So what is the story? Well, the story has literally been around for thousands of years. But the very cool thing is, this story is just as relevant today as it was yesterday. Now, there are 5 distinct parts to the story of how to get things done, just 5. And the story goes like this. Number 1, a farmer went out to plant some seeds. Number 2, some seeds fell on hardened ground, but the birds came and ate them up. Number 3, some seeds fell on rocky ground. Because there wasn't much soil, the plants immediately sprung up. The sun came out and scorched the plants. But because the plants had no deep roots, it withered and died. Number 4, some seeds fell among thorns. The thorns grew up and choked the plants, so they produced no fruit. And number 5, finally, some seeds fell on good soil and produced 30 times, 60 times, and even 100 times what was sown. So Perfect Progress is this story of how to get things done. This is the story you want to remember. Now, for those of you who are already familiar with the story, it's also known as the parable of the sower. However, there are not 3, but 5 very powerful lessons in this story. And these lessons make up the 5 Perfect Progress skills. And here's the tricky part. If you're missing just one of them, it will stop you from getting things done. It will stop you from making real progress. How do I know? It's because the farmer never gets his fruit until the very end. That's why you need all 5 skills. Now, in my research, I didn't want a whole body of knowledge or an expert's library on productivity. I just wanted the 5 to 7 things to keep up with. Why? Well, it's because that's all that I and most people can only remember at a time. My senior project back in college was a study on memory, and without using any special memorizing techniques, I found that most people, when at their best, could only remember 5 to 7 things at a time. This is why I'm not a fan of endless, scatterbrained productivity tips and ideas. You will never remember them all, much less use them all. Sure, you can use the trial and error approach to the many different tips and ideas, but that's a slow and antiquated way to learn productivity. And again, you will never remember them all, much less use them all. Fortunately, I discovered the parable of the sower, and it was perfect. I have spent almost 20 years meditating on this parable, putting it through test after test after test after test, and it never seems to fail. Perfect progress with this parable is bringing back easy to remember simplicity with just 5 skills that simply work. That's it. No more. Just 5. Now, when you first hear the 5 skills, you think you know them, because they are so darn simple. But I would say there's a good chance you probably don't really know them, and that you probably have a more cumbersome understanding of them. Cumbersome means to slow you down, which is not something you want for productivity. In summary, perfect progress is personal productivity training. Perfect progress is changing how we think and learn about productivity. No more endless, scatterbrained tips and ideas that only work sometimes. The skills to making real progress should work for everyone, everywhere in life. I'm all for working smarter, not harder. I'm all for simplifying your life, not making it more cumbersome. The 5 perfect progress skills are productivity skills that simply work. What is perfect progress? Perfect progress is a story. It's a perfect story of how to get things done and making real progress at work, at home, and in life. Now, there are 25 lessons in the 5 perfect progress skills course. Each lesson can be covered in 10 minutes or less. They are each short and sweet, yet concise. There are also lesson notes available to follow along, or you can use them as a quiz in the end. I strongly don't recommend you skipping around or going directly to the lessons you're most interested in. Try to go through them in order. It's because people tend to remember things better when they are organized, like following the order of a story. Also, I think you'll be quite surprised by what you find. And try to go through only 1 or maybe 2 lessons per day. The truth is, your brain can only digest so much information at a time. This is not like a lecture where you're trying to collect all the information you can, just so that you can go through them later. My advice is to take your time to learn the lessons one by one as you follow the story. Let the idea behind each lesson digest or marinate inside your mind until it resonates. There are 1.4 billion families in the world today. Perfect progress solves the poor productivity problem for every single family out there in the world today. It doesn't solve the problem of the soul, but it does solve the poor productivity problem. It really does. All right, are you ready? Get ready to change your life. Be encouraged, stay fruitful, and stay productive. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in the very first lesson.